going to do a roll call attendance. Thank you for the recording. Bill.
Yep.
Justin, I didn't see him in. Okay, Krista Silva. I know you're here. I see you. Greg Johnson.
Yes.
Mary Branley.
Yes.
Hillary. I don't see Brian.
Yes.
Mike Stevens. I don't see.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Mike, you are. I'm sorry.
Yep. Hello.
Didn't mean to exclude you. Who we got? Rob Rouleau. Didn't see Rob. Jennifer. Yes. Wayne White.
Yep,
See
I'm
Wayne.
here.
Oh, you're here. Okay, thank you. I'm here. Mark Anderson. Yes, you're here. Anthony. Matthew is not here tonight, and I knew that. He has a conflict. Nick Kane.
Here.
Ken Newhouser. Josh.
Here.
Thank you. And I see we have Charles, Rob Savoy, Katie Moore, and Kevin, and they are all non-voting members, but we have a quorum. I will take a moment and read the governor's epitaph, and then we'll get the agenda started. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed into law by Governor Healy on March 29, 2023, several pandemic-related relief provisions suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 20, were further extended until March 31st, 2025. All members of the public are invited to join the meeting virtually, either by computer or phone, as noted below. If joining virtually, video and audio will be turned off for public participants unless otherwise stipulated by the chair. Bill, I'll turn it over to you for a second and give it back to me if you want for minutes.
Yeah, I'll give it back to you. The next item is approval of prior meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you. Did everybody get a copy of the meeting minutes? I made a couple of minor edits. I think there were date changes. That was it. I sent them out, I believe, on Saturday. Did anybody have any questions, issues, major disagreements? I'm not seeing any hand. Not that I can see everybody's hand, but I'm not seeing or hearing anything. Okay, again, via roll call. Okay, via roll call, we'll approve the minutes. Justin, not here. Krista Silva.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Hillary, not here. Okay, Brian.
Yes.
Mike Stevens.
Yes.
Rob, not here. Jennifer.
Yes.
Wayne. I assume Wayne's a yes somewhere. I'm a yes. Mark Anderson.
Yes.
Anthony, did Anthony join us? Matthew Johan's not here. Nick.
Yes.
Ken. Not here. Josh.
I believe I have to abstain because I don't believe I was sworn in until the following day after that meeting.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Good correction. Thank you. Minutes are approved. All the voting members who could vote, voted. That's it. You got it, Bill.
Okay, well, the next item is still you, just updating them
Oh.
on the building committee member list change that kind of got confirmed by the select board.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So I did send out a building committee member list to all of you so that you actually have the official one signed by the chair of the board of the select board, Krista Silva, and approved by MSBA. Just so that if there's any question, I like it when everybody has a copy of this, because as you know, there are times when somebody might question, you know, who's on the committee, how many are on the committee, how do I know how this got established? Well, now you get a piece of paper that if you need to, you can lean back on and rely on that. I don't think we need to vote I don't think we officially need to vote for Josh. We couldn't vote last time because our meeting was just before the same night, September 5th, just before the select board meeting. Select board meeting approved Josh coming on and Ken Anderson, Ken Newhouser moving to be a voting member. I don't think we need to vote for that unless somebody could advise me differently, but I think we're okay. They've been approved by MSBA, by the select board, and we talked about it at the last meeting. I think we're good to go.
Yep.
Bill, you got it.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll jump right into feasibility study budget update. So since we last met, so at the last meeting, you guys approved, and then Greg approved it afterwards, the proposal with the green engineer for the schematic design energy modeling. So this 27.9K is that proposed amount. The difference between what you approved and that number is the cost share that Eversource picks up through the Path One program. And then this 4.4K is that just showing that plan but not contracted. We still haven't gotten the invoice for the townwide mailer, but that'll be for that dollar amount. That's the only updates to the budget since we last met. And then in terms of MSBA reimbursement to date, no changes since we last met. It's still that 470,378. No expenditures have been submitted to them since we last met, so no changes there. Any questions on the budget update? Okay. Next item, community outreach. So we had met as a community outreach subcommittee a week or so ago, and we developed a town meeting presentation that would be presented by folks like Jerry, Brian, Greg, and Rob Rouleau. And I believe Josh Morse has a speaking part in there as well. And the idea was kind of work off of the community forum presentations that have been put together thus far, but try to make it a little bit more of an efficient presentation. So that was sent out to you all via OneDrive link. And I can open that up now, but Mary, I don't know if you want to get into some of your stuff before we go through that first.
Why don't we do the presentation first,
Okay.
and then we can talk, yeah.
Okay. So first slide is the building committee slide, building committee member slide that we've had for a little bit now. One of the comments at the subcommittee meeting was, have the building committee list, and this is the updated list, but also maybe have a section in there that speaks to the other town board / committees that have, approved the project thus far, approved meaning approve the project scope and budget agreement. Josh, you got a question?
Sorry, I really never like to interrupt, but I just want to let everybody know we just got a treasurer. Somebody just volunteered to be a treasurer for the political action committee.
Great.
Right.
Perfect.
Right. So that's that first slide. So this would be presented by Jerry. And then the idea behind this newer slide is to have Jerry speak to the fact that, this project is a partnership with the state agency that is the MSBA. Therefore, we got to follow their prescriptive process, but it's all positive stuff. One, because they're another group that is going to perform checks and balances on the project besides your paid consultants, because they have a stake in the project, and through the process you're going to get financial reimbursement from them. And just some high level bullet points that speak to that stuff. Prescriptive process to follow, checks and balances provided by MSBA. MSBA has a stake in this project, hence quality control services from them throughout. Districts held accountable for adequate maintenance and training plan for new building, and then real-time reimbursement. Nick, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any place here, if this is the spot for it. There's been some feedback, questions, whatever, from people online and stuff. Is the MSBA a way that it all keeps you from building too big of a school, too grand, too many bells and whistles? Is this something that can be said to be in here, prescriptive process followed, standards, it's just because there's a lot of people out there thinking we're building too big of a school, we're building too much of a school, we're having too many fancy things. Some of those are getting squashed. I'm just wondering if there's a way to like
Yep.
add it to one of these underlines, and just be like, before anybody even asks, it's already presented and they don't have to bring it up later.
Yep. So yes, I think, and we could coordinate with Jerry on it, however you want to do it, Jerry. Right now the slide's pretty crammed. We could potentially slide that in one and or two. It's Jerry speaking to it, as he highlights prescriptive process to follow, checks and balances. Like if you want to dig into a detailed example, like Nick just brought up, you can do it at that point.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I just as a quick aside too, I'd have to be careful on that because there's technically nothing that prevents us from building a larger, bigger, better, whatever. It's just on our dime, not on the MSBA's dime. So
And
I don't think,
I think that is the checks and balances. That is how these 9.9 out of 10 MSBA projects stay within a certain size range because of that, because districts and communities don't want to add ineligible costs to their project. So it does all link back to their space guidelines. So Jerry,
that's actually why I brought it up for this slide, thinking it was halfway baked into items 1 and 2 there, bullet points 1 and 2.
100% correct. Yep.
Good, perfect. Thanks. I'm good.
So that's the MSBA slide. And then the thought is it transitions from Jerry to Brian and Rob to get into the project Y. This bulleted list is what we've had. I think we've updated. We added non-accessible building and site to people with disabilities. And the rest of we added no air conditioning when hot, space heaters when cold, just to highlight some other deficiencies and what have you. And then the next few slides are kind of getting into the images. Chris added some labels to the images, but the idea is Brian takes this first slide, and then the next few slides, it transitions into Rob, the principal of the school, living through this every day. And then we added a slide of site images showing some accessibility concerns. So from there, it goes back to Brian. So the idea is Brian and Rob, if the two of them want to kind of team up on these next few design slides. But the thought is the district presents the design slides at a high level, but kind of highlighting that these design slides are a result of all the educational visioning, design visioning, and all that kind of work session background effort that has happened between design team and district and town members. So same slides that have been seen before by the community. And then the thought is this technical slide, have Josh speak to this slide high level because time is of the essence. But kind of not lose track of the sustainability topic as it's been such a big topic to date on the project. And the thought is these next two budget slides, so MSBA share versus local share, and then Maynard tax implications, have this presented by Greg. This slide was literally added today. It's been sent to us that in some of these coffee talks and what have you, the topic of the district's maintenance of school buildings is concerning if we're going to invest X amount of dollars in a new building. So the thought was, and please people speak up when get to the topic before it gets to us in the Q&A. And the thought is it goes from Greg doing these budget slides, hands it over to Brian, and Brian gets into this, just speaking to the process in place now, being transparent, being honest, but just, you know, us getting to it first shows that we're aware of the topic. We know it's real. We know we're going to have to invest in this new building, and you know, essentially get to it before it gets to us in Q&A. Will we probably need to answer to questions during Q&A on this topic? Yes, but the thought is have a slide in the meat of the presentation to get to it first.
And
And then
a quick thing, Phil, right now it's looking like Mary, Brian and I will have a conversation this Thursday morning about that slide and what
yeah,
information we'll put there. And we all need to be cognizant of the fact that this entire presentation, which you already said, I don't know what the time limit is, but we want to limit the length of time we present. So none of us, and I know I'm a bad one at that. I can go off track and pick a point and talk about it. And I enjoy that, but this is not the night for that. The town meeting night, it's crisp. Here's the bullets, bingo. We'll be able to answer as people ask a question about it afterward. We'll have time then to, if we have to elaborate on a point, that's fine. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah, so like right now we got 18 slides of content. If you figure 2 minutes on average per slide, and hopefully we get that average down, you know, that's 36-minute presentation. That's probably not what we want. We probably want quicker than that. So we got to be conscious of that. Josh, go ahead.
I was just going to say on the previous slide, just a thought. We may want to mention that MSBA requires that we submit a preventative maintenance plan. You know, it's done as part of the SOI. I wouldn't say that because then people will ask for a copy of it, but I would just stick with MSBA requires a preventative maintenance plan. And I would possibly add too that MSBA now does post-occupancy inspections that includes a review of maintenance practices. We just did that with one of our recently completed projects in Newton, and it went really smooth.
Yep. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, I just had a thought for town meeting because people are always saying, you know, they can't see the slides and that. Is it possible for us to use a little bit of the feasibility money to put these slides on a handout for everybody?
Yeah.
It's pretty generic. I know we did that at the spring for a school committee article that we had, and I was just thinking it would be really beneficial, I think, for people to have this, unless others think otherwise. Does that sound okay?
That's a good idea. I
All
like
right.
that.
Okay.
Just one thing to think about there from a campaign finance law standpoint. I think we can provide them, but I'm not sure we can actually physically hand them out.
Okay. All right. But
I'm not positive.
Yeah, I mean, I said I want to confirm anything relative to this topic because you know, we don't need to get ourselves in trouble.
Okay, but it's the same thing that's being presented to them.
On the topic of is the budget.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Understood. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you, but crazier things have been said to us from OCPF. So yeah.
So can you just
absolutely the stuff they say is absolutely lunacy, but
so if you could just ask that question, Phil, and then is that okay or?
Yep.
Okay.
I will.
That. Thank you.
Yeah. So just a
Before we get
quick
past
thing,
that,
Phil.
is that something, Mary, you're gonna try and get printed for us, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. We just need the permission to use a little bit of because I'd probably just go right back to ink, etc., and just have them, you know, create a couple of 100 copies or whatever, just so that people can have them in the audience. If you think that's an okay idea. It's just it notoriously, you know, what comes up, and especially for the people that are going to be in the gym, they won't be able to physically see this presentation. So that's sort of where I'm heading. But let's find out if we can do it first, and then.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So are we not having a monitor in the gym?
Don't
for
know.
this?
I don't know. When we start
Okay.
talking town meeting, maybe that's a question for
Okay.
Brian, because yeah,
All right.
and Greg.
Okay.
And then this last slide, this is a new slide. We haven't had it on past presentations. The thought was try to summarize in some type of pro versus con or what have you, bulleted list, cliff notes as to, what do you get with the proposed project? What do you still have if it gets shot down and you got your existing building and existing site? So you got a bunch of bulleted items, and the thought is organize them by these categories: the educational aspect, building and site aspect, and then kind of financial aspect. And the thought is, so this is back to, this stays with Brian. So Brian does this one and Brian will do this final slide. Hey, Brian, you're going to be busy.
I'll be ready.
Can I make
You're right.
a quick point about when we talk about this? Make sure people understand this is the existing building if we don't do any renovations. We've been talking about if we still don't do the new building, the existing building is temporary, and there will still need to be renovations to get past some of this that will come out of pocket. That might be part of what we talk about.
Yeah. So at the outreach subcommittee meeting, we talked about that topic and the fact that up to this point, the topic of renovating the existing building has morphed into a real big thing. And it's somewhat concerning because the truth is, if this project doesn't pass, there's no budget to do anything. There's going to be nothing done.
It's a whole new process to start the whole talk over for
There's
us,
nothing.
even in town, right? Yeah.
The renovation slide, this base repair code upgrade slide, has always meant to just show people the data associated with that scope that needs to be studied through the MSBA process. But it's kind of, and it's nobody's, it happens all the time. It's been morphed into this thing like people think that project's going to happen if this project gets denied. And we're trying to make sure that's not thought that way. Because it's not going to, you know what I mean?
Then let's just be clear that when we talk to people that this is the do nothing half. This slide means we're doing everything new, or they were doing nothing on the other half, to maybe not confuse anybody.
Yeah, right.
Or I guess let them ask about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Existing building, no work or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's quick, right? If this project doesn't pass, it's going to be more of the same until a new plan is approved and budget is approved and all that.
One way to do this would be proposed budget with the states, with state financial support, existing building completely on taxpayer money or something like that. Oh, no, sorry, because this is existing building before we do anything. Sorry, I'm trying to differentiate that because I understand where Nick is coming from. Because this is honestly, this is the biggest question that I've got by far, hands down, over the last month.
Yeah, hi, this is Frank. Most of the time, what is compared is the net cost to the district against the full cost for renovating the existing building. And you'll find there's not a huge difference there. So in other words, if you're just going to go back and fix what's there, it's going to cost, I don't know, 34 million or something like that. That was based on the study. But if you, and what is the town actually, what is their share? Maybe it's somewhere a little more than that, but not too much. So in other words, for the 34 million, you get no new space. And for the 34 million with the new project, you get basically a new school and plenty of space for the future. That comparison is often made, and it resonates, because you're not going to do nothing with that school. Things have to be done to it, but it will be all local money.
Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but isn't it true that that whole 7.8 million number and a third, if we get to that trigger point within a 3-year period, then we do have to bring it up to code. And I'm thinking specifically of the kindergarten wing where we've got the space heaters, and just doing that piece alone could definitely trigger it to go, right? So it's not like do nothing. It's like we're going to be forced to do nothing if we trigger that 2.34 million or whatever in 3 years, right?
Yeah, I think that people, if you look at the school, it's really in tough shape. Are you gonna would people really want, if they defeat this, does it mean that you should do nothing to this school with all its deficiencies? So a comparison that's often made is to basically make this a 50-year building the way the new building is going to be. It costs X number of dollars, and usually that's in the ballpark of what your net cost is after state reimbursement. So it's like, yeah, I mean, then you're not going to do nothing. You have to address these things, whether it's over time or you do it all at once. That amount of money is going to be what it costs. I mean, you can't just keep the old space heaters and things. They have to be upgraded. The roof has to be replaced. Things have to be done, and they will cost more and more as time goes on, but you will do them. And I think people know that. And it should be very clear that there is no such thing as do nothing, because the kids deserve better. And you can't just leave them in that place. I mean, it's habitable. I'm not trying to say it isn't, but it's lived its useful life. So that point should be made very strongly, I think.
Maybe one way to do that is to instead of labeling it existing building, we label that side as issues that the town would need to address on our dime if the vote failed.
That's exactly what it is. It's called the local option. How much does the local option is to do everything that you need to do for that school? We've got all those numbers. We did them during the study, and that's what it will cost. Are you going to do it all next year? Probably not. But the cost of that thing is going to keep going up because of inflation. But what we have is a cost of doing those things to bring that into a 50-year building like the new building would be.
I think the term local option is pretty good because it sets the tone.
That's
simple,
right.
big black bold letters on top, local option.
The local option. That's what it is. Okay. It's because the thought is, and it should never be allowed to get out there, that, if we vote this down, then it won't cost us anything. That's just not true, because you will replace that HVAC system, that roof, those windows. Eventually, everything will be done. It might be over time, or it might be just a local bond issue that you do, but somehow you will make those repairs, and you won't get any new space out of it either. So it is the local option.
I like that title.
Yeah.
So the problem is, if we're going to go down this road, so my only concern, Phil, is this the last slide?
Yep.
Yeah. So my only concern is, if we're going to do that, I don't think we can leave it just at that slide, because it's a bit of a Pandora's box. If we don't explain what that really means from a cost perspective, I'm afraid that folks that show up who are unaware or more leaning towards no are going to look at it as, and all they'll hear is there's a less expensive option. So I think if we're going to have to explain that, if we're going to put it out there. And
but it's not a true option because it does not house the kids properly.
I agree. So I did a whole write-up on this in a big social media push earlier this week. I did. I went through and I analyzed everything from Fennessy. I escalated everything out. I came up with swing space costs. Phil, I got some updated numbers on temporary modular schools, and the numbers have gone through the roof, and they're climbing higher because of the issue you pointed out about the latest energy codes. I went through CMR 521 3.3.2 from an accessibility standpoint and the triggers. I went through the energy code and the opt-in code, what that's going to do to the work that we have to do. The bottom line is, it's going to be a $45 to $46 million project. And we're not going to have a choice once you get into it. As soon as you do anything, really, if you replace the HVAC system, you just bought yourself the accessibility upgrades. Once you do that, because of the ramping in the corridors, you bought yourself an addition. Once in addition, you bought yourself sprinklers. Once you've done all that, you're into a level 2 alteration, which is going to blow you right into the energy code, which requires you to gut the entire interior, replace all the finishes. Now at that point, it's a full-blown renovation.
Yeah.
So I think what can happen, so this slide was always meant to kind of compare and contrast, not meant to get into the quote unquote local option. But I think what can happen is, so here's what's tough. Do we want to add another slide? Because we just got done talking about trying to be efficient with time. But an option could be keep this slide as is, meant to be compare and contrast what you get if it gets approved, what the existing building and site currently is. And then it slides into the local option kind of with the breakdown that Josh is talking about. Or we stick with what we've been doing thus far in these presentations and just kind of speak into this content and not have this compare and contrast slide.
Yeah, there's no discussion points on this slide. It's very, very cut and dry. So I think you're right. We could show it, everybody can absorb it and go, wow, look at all these things. And then we go to the next one. I think this is probably one of the shortest slides we want to show because there's no discussion on it.
Yeah, the only challenge with this slide is the value comes because people aren't going to read this content on the screen. So the value of the slide is Brian literally speaking these bulleted items, and that's going to take him all 3.5 minutes, 2.5. So what's maybe we just go to this slide. And maybe somehow, some way, we find a way to make this content, I don't know, be part of a mailer through the pack, or something. We could figure it out. Just a thought.
If I could just make one suggestion here, from a presentation point of view, I know that there's, in essence, try to keep the number of slides down, but it can actually sometimes be better. You can communicate better by showing less information per slide. You have an overview, obviously, like this, and then when you're talking about it, say, okay, and here's the educational aspect. Next slide, the building and site aspect, and visually. That helps a lot of people in the audience, especially people who maybe not be familiar with these issues. I mean, they're,
Right.
For some people, it's going to be their first or second time of seeing some of this.
I hate
Just
to say it,
one.
but what you're showing is a document. These are not slides. People should care about it. This is not a slideshow. When you put something like that up, that's a document. And when Mary's instinct is correct, you hand that out. What should be up there is a slide, a picture of something, and then somebody is discussing the information. And there's an old rule that's used in slide presentations called the rule of 4. Don't have any more than 4 bullets that you're going to talk about. There's too much information on here. It's just a blur. So please simplify. We have some nice photographs of what's going to come. I think that's what people want to see. Rendered site plan, rendered elevations, floor plans with an explanation, and then the technical stuff it should be done in very simple bullets. You don't have to put it up there to talk about it. You can talk about it while there's this nice picture up there. So I don't know. I mean, it's a presentation conundrum that people fall into. They want to get all the information on the slide, which nobody can possibly read it or understand it. So a simple slide, it should be a slide. A document should be a document. This is a document.
Yeah, I mean, so the truth is, and Brian, I'm going to point this towards you. I mean, this content here is going to be spoken about throughout the slideshow. So like educational aspect, building and site aspect, you and Rob are going to speak to that when you're talking through those pretty slides that Frank was just talking about, site rendering, floor plan rendering, etc.
Correct.
Greg is gonna speak to the financial aspects on the budget slide. This content, Brian and Rob are going to speak to on the project Y slides. So the truth is, this content is summarizing what's already been said.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question on the process of how this presentation goes. I expect that people will say, can you go back to slide X so we can talk about a thing? Is that possible? Is that something so we can always go back to the pretty picture and then continue to discuss, right? Yeah. Okay, good.
That, and if they don't say that specifically, we can always do that. If we know it links to a certain slide that we spoke about.
Okay.
Right, but those questions are after the fact. Somebody can ask that, Nick, to my understanding. They kind of ask it, well, Brian is presenting it. They can, somebody come up to the microphone, you can ask a question, then we can then, move it to slide number, 8 to explain the answer. Am I correct with that, I assume?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're presenting, and that's all we're doing. No interaction, there's no nothing. We're just put the slides up, say what we or whoever is gonna say, says it, and we move on to the next slide. Then it'll be open. Go ahead.
Greg, any idea what the time limit's gonna be for the presentation? No.
No, I mean the town moderator likes no more than a few minutes. This is not the expectation for this topic. Like this is the show of town meeting this year, so it'll be fun.
It's $83 million. That takes a few
Yeah.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah, he's not. He really just needs to see like momentum, and then, but which is what we're getting at, and how to. In fact, this conversation really speaks to that, as to how to sort of like keep it the good flow. As long as he sees that, he's gonna let it go.
Okay. Okay, so
What's Jerry doing for an encore? That's all I want to know.
Just remember, attention span declines pretty rapidly after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
all right, so it sounds like the consensus is let's get this slide out of the meat of the presentation. If we gotta point to it during Q&A or what have you, we can do so. I slid in this base repair code upgrade local option back into it. Do we want to do that? What do you want to do?
But the advantage to this, I think, to Josh's point, I agree 100%. And Josh has run some numbers, right, wrong, or different. I don't know. I can't argue the 40 or the 45 million, but let's assume for a moment that Josh is more right than wrong. And let's say this renovation option is 45 million versus 54 million. Well, it's getting pretty damn close.
Yeah.
You know, it's renovating the 54 Packard. And now you still have a 54 Packard, but it's been renovated. Got new white walls on it. Looks good. Got a new engine in it. Right? But it's still a 54 Packard. So
yeah, Josh, I think you take this slide.
I'm ready.
You just sold me, man.
Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't look bad either, because right, your first sentence, it says construction start of winter of 2024. I mean, that's one of the things I pointed out to folks. Like, look, if the town votes this thing down in November, there's not a chance in hell we're going to start construction on the repair option in the winter of 24. So, you know, this was an analysis that was done early on to evaluate several options against each other. It was a snapshot early. You know, the reality is, if we were to try to pivot at this point, you're starting a whole new project over. You got to do feasibility. You got to start at the beginning. You've got a few years of design before you start construction. Escalation alone is going to put you up into the mid 40s, you know, and then that temp school, those costs are going through the roof. I mean, honestly, I tried not to be too crazy with my analysis. It could very well be as expensive, if not more expensive, than our share for new construction.
Yeah. I agree. And you're right, Josh. It's false. I mean, I know you're right. The reason this is up here is because we were trying to do a comparison. That was an internal comparison that we were all trying to do. But for presentation purposes at town meeting, yeah, winter 2024 is not going to happen. If this vote fails, then we need to start the whole process again. And I don't know all what is involved in that, but let's assume we're not going to get anything cranked up for another couple of years. So you're going to live with what you've got for the next 2 to 3 years until we get ready to do something with the school. Meanwhile, we're still spending money on the existing school because we got to keep it going. And some of that money is going to be substantial. We can only live with those space heaters for so long.
That's right.
So,
and you know, it's up to you, but honestly, if you're going to have me speak to this, and I'll defer to the group, I know I'm still new to the committee. It doesn't matter to me if you put this slide up there or if you just put a picture of Green Meadow. You know, to Frank's point, I typically, when I'm doing presentations, I barely put words on the screen at all. It's just pictures, and I use them as triggers for myself to talk through stuff.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yep, agreed.
We can easily change the graphic on the slide.
Yeah, but keep the documents, because some people do
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
read them afterwards, you know, I mean, if they want to get more detail and so forth. But the presentation, as Josh just did, is an impassioned, you know, a reasoned way of explaining why this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And that does it better with just somebody explaining it than trying to read things, bullet points.
Valid points. Excellent.
I will say there's a little bit of a trust issue if you don't have some of the facts showing that is around and out there in the town.
Yeah.
Us writing it and standing behind it, there's weight there that I think needs to happen. So all of us just speaking at people, there's been some resistance to that too. Not all the people, some. So we're covering a lot of bases here with having animated, impassioned oration and
Yes.
what we understand to be all the facts written down on paper that we can say, we told you, it's here, you've read it, digest it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, to date now, there's been multiple forms where this content has been presented, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the first time at town meeting.
No, it's just the first town meeting.
Right.
Well, and the good thing will be if OCPF is cool with us printing out copies of the presentation, I suspect, well, put it this way, I suspect they're going to be totally cool with us printing them out and leaving them for people to pick up. The question will be whether or not we as building committee members can hand them out. And the workaround to that is if we leave them and on the table and non-building committee members then hand them out, that I believe is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about having those handouts is that we can put all of these long form slides in that handout and folks can have that to read through. We don't necessarily need to show all of those slides when we do the presentation, but we can refer to them if questions come up.
Right.
Yep.
Index A through Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of these slides that we're not now going to potentially use would just be the backup slides. Because if you
Yep.
look at the slide deck, I think there's, I don't know, 50, maybe, I don't know, I can't see it from here.
Oh, including the back of the deck stuff. Yeah, you're looking at
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
42
slides. If
Yeah.
we need to go back to something, it's there, we can pull it back up and explain it. To Nick's point, you're right, it's okay for you or Josh, for you to stand up and pontificate on something, and somebody looks at, yeah, I know Josh, I like Josh, he's really a smart guy, but, where's the meat? Can you show me the meat behind this? Okay, bring up a slide, here it is, this is what we went through, here's the people who went through it. So I think we've got the backup documentation to support it, but yet we can hopefully have the presentation meet the brevity that the moderator is going to be looking for. And if the question and answer period goes for a length of time, so be it. The moderator will also control that. When he feels that that question's been asked in 4 different directions, let's go to a different one. So I think, Nick, I think you're right. And Josh, I think you're right.
So logistically, Phil, if you can find out if it's okay for us to use a little bit of the facilities money, and then maybe we could just have a couple of us get together and figure out which slides we want to put in that little packet for people, so that then I can get copies made. If that sounds okay.
Yep. Okay.
Great.
All right, so I'll make those changes and I'll kind of resend out that OneDrive link. Any other community outreach stuff, Mary?
Just what we've been doing this weekend. We were at the farmers market yesterday. Jerry and I were at coffee. We've got the market, the Maynard Fest next Saturday, which will be all day. Another coffee on Sunday. Just mostly preparation for the town meeting. Also, as far as Brian, have you heard? I want to get details out about babysitting, and maybe this is something we can do offline, but I really want to get that info out because people have been asking. I know we do have.
Yeah, we have a handful of kids
Right,
confirmed.
but it's just the logistics of how people sign up and that kind of thing, and who the kids are, what age brackets and stuff. So maybe if we could get that tomorrow, that'd be fantastic. I can send you what Rob and Karen from Green Meadow had done previously. So maybe we can just have that as guidelines, so people know. And then, so the other piece, Greg, as far as the town meeting, have you talked to Dick about, I know that Brian has talked to Steve, our director of WAVM, about the fact that there's probably going to be an overflow into the gym. Have you discussed with Dick Downey? And I know he was here for the high school also, so he knows the audience, but has that discussion been going on?
Not directly, but that's because he was out of the country. But in the meantime, he shot an email, and my understanding is he is expecting the overflow to be open with. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be misremembering. Hadn't that already been conveyed to Steve for WAVM? But am I misremembering?
I think he knows there's overflow. It was a matter of where it was.
Yeah.
And he's working on setting it all up.
Perfect. Yeah. My only concern is because all the players are new and they weren't here for the high school. So just want to be overly prepared for that, including like Jerry was just saying, a monitor in the gym also. And oh, and then the other piece, so I guess that's for town meeting itself. And then there was also, Brian, you sent out an because Phil had recommended that we have an open house between town meeting and the election. And there was a Tuesday date. I don't know. I'm not thinking that's a great date because Tuesday at at supper hour is not when we're going to get a lot of people. I'd rather have it on Saturday, but I'm open for other people's thoughts.
I don't know who I guess I wasn't sure who the target audience was.
Right. Yeah, I think we were
So
just
we were trying to find a different time than we've already done, because if we do it at the same time, we're really only getting the same people who have Saturday morning off.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you work on Saturday, if you have kids on Saturday,
Yeah,
and we do
soccer on
3 things
Saturday.
on Saturday, it's
Yeah.
right. But I'm open to whatever you guys think is best, and we can look at the calendar again and go from there.
Thoughts, anybody?
I think, well, Jerry and Mary, I mean, what I would recommend is you guys have been hearing the most feedback. Maybe you guys figure out a way to target the folks that are the ones saying, what are you talking about? The building's fine. Whatever time frame works for those folks. So if you think it's fine, come to the building with me. We'll walk you around.
Right, yeah.
On Tuesday night at 6, whatever, you know.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard. I think that bewitching hour is probably the worst for everybody, but that's.
So I think we were thinking if the target audience was parents who were kind of on the fence or whatnot, or didn't have kids, they could do it on the way home from work. So before they get home, before they're settled in, before dinner, they could stop, do a tour, and then they're done, as opposed to going home and coming back out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that's the right time or day. That was
Yeah.
just the thought process behind it.
Yeah, what's tough is there isn't a perfect, because there's gonna be something no matter what time of day you choose.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it, expect more, and then we can solidify it. Okay. But I think that's
If you need another body for that, I'm walking distance to the school and can help. If I give it advance notice, I can get there. Wednesdays are great for me to be there. I'm home already, but any other day, whatever, I can make it work.
part of me is thinking it'd be great to have it for seniors, like in the afternoon after school gets out, maybe have coffee and I don't know, little treats or something to entice them over, because that seems to be the audience that we kind of need to educate a little bit more on the building. So, all right, we'll do that offline. So
I got another thought, Mary, as you're going through this and Brian's comments and Phil's comments, and I agree. I don't know what the perfect time is. I don't know what the perfect day is. And there's reasons for and against all of the times we'll choose. Supposing, and I know we talked about this before, and I think some of this was done, supposing somebody were to do a detailed walk around with, I'll say video, okay? And looking at, not because when we walked the building on that Saturday, I think August 26th, the talk that day was more about, and I'm not negative to this, about classroom size, but people were commenting how nice the building looked, because that's the only part they saw. They heard about classroom sizes and all the educational aspects. That was perfect. Now we need to not only have that, but I think we also need to show the old 1953 electrical panels, okay, and some of the 120 volt service outlets that there's only a couple in a classroom, and this day and age you need many more than that because we do so much electronically. In the boiler room, the boilers are fairly new in Green Meadow. We had those installed, I think, around 2013, 2014. There's some other problems there, which I won't talk about right now, but there's also a massive heat exchanger down there that when it fails, building shut down. End discussion. But I think we need to get some photos of some of that. Maybe that's a way to do it, and put a video, get it online somehow and try to get people to it. I don't know if that's the right approach or the wrong one, but it's different. Any thoughts? I don't know.
Thinking that we could probably get WAVM to do it, but they would need obviously guidance. They'd need somebody to
Guidance.
walk them around.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, if you do that, you got to keep it short and sweet. So
Yep.
that's the challenge is you're going to lose people's attention after about you can do about 6-8 minutes. Anything
Yep.
longer than that, and people are going to start to disappear. The other thing is you got to keep it not technical. You know, the vast majority of people, it's not that they're not smart; they're just smart in their own areas. Most people are not building folks. So, Jerry, I hear you on the heat exchanger, and those are the things that keep me up at night. But most people would have no clue. Whereas if you're pointing at, you know, accessibility issues or,
Yep.
you know, the things that are visual that are falling apart, that's very obvious.
Yep.
Show them a
Yep.
special education room that's currently in a closet. You know, those are things that will resonate
Yep.
with folks.
Yep, no, you're right, you're right. I mean, I
Tiny
threw things out,
bathrooms. That resonates
tiny
with everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Nick.
but they're tiny kids. I mean, come on, Nick, come on. Okay, I'll shut up.
Well,
What's next on the
you're
agenda?
100% right, Jerry, because that's what swung the vote for the fire department. I heard it from more than one person. Is, oh my God, that's how they have to operate. I had no idea, and it was a video, and it changed minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it changed a lot of minds when we did the same thing with the high school. People went in the boiler room and said, "Oh my God!" And they looked at things and they said, "Wow, how does this run?" I said, "Yeah, that's part of why we need to move this forward." So it does work. It's now a matter of how we present that. That's all.
So if we are to do this, we could ask WAVM, get a couple of the kids. I don't know, maybe Bob Savoy, who's I think in the meeting. You know, who do we get to walk around and talk about this in this short video? Josh,
Well,
could you do it?
I'm happy to do it. I think if I'm going to be there, though, we're going to want an educator there too.
Right.
And the educator could be Rob. It could be almost anybody. But you know, I've learned over the years the most powerful voices are the educators. It's not us talking heads.
Well, what I was going to say is I think Rob did a great job at the Saturday community. You know what I mean? I think it could be Rob.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. We'll see if we can get WAVM and Rob. That sounds perfect. And just keep it short and sweet. And then we can put it, what would we do? Put it on our Facebook page and Instagram and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we
Wherever.
can link it. I mean, we got the Google Drive where we can then link it to the project website and
Okay.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get something like that put together, and I promise you I can get it out there.
Okay. Thank you.
I hate to say this, but of course we are living in the so-called TikTok generation. So much as I appreciate the idea of 7 or 8 minutes as being something a good time, part of me thinks that we're looking at 7 or 8 seconds for some people with attention span. But I wonder if there's anybody in WAVM who is familiar with that. I mean, not literally TikTok, but you know, that approach to presentation of this kind of information.
Yeah, if they're not, I can take any video file and clip it and reassemble as necessary to pull that down to a nice tight presentation.
Right. Because there's even something to be said for, rather than thinking of it in terms of one video as a presentation that we share, you know, another approach is, well, here's something about you know, the heating, here's something else about
Good point.
That's a great point.
Here's a typical classroom. Discuss that for 30 seconds.
Right.
Yep.
We
have
just about 2 weeks to go until that, so that's a tall order perhaps to put it together, but just something to think about.
I'm thinking of it more in terms of, again, I'm cautiously optimistic that if we do a really great presentation, we answer questions, that we will get the vote at town meeting because people are there in person listening. It's the time between the town meeting and the polls for people to go in and just as easily say, yeah, great idea, but I'm voting no. So we're gonna have to really keep the momentum going between town meeting and the actual election. But we'll see how fast we can get it done.
Good discussion. Great. What's the next item on the agenda?
Just project timeline. So just showing October 10th for the town meeting, 7 o'clock Fowler School, and then November 7th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the debt exclusion vote at Fowler School.
Any new or other business that anybody has to bring up?
Just
Or
a quick
anything that
question. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't raise my hand. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I have a thing that came up from community meetings. 2 things. Mary sort of halfway answered it, but I want to get the official answer. When does the tax impact start for residents? When specifically in the process? Is it like once the first requisition goes through, we approve it, and so we're talking about like early, or I should say winter 2025? Is that when it starts to hit, or when? Just that's the thing that came up, and I just want to know what the answer is so we can share that.
So usually when we have to pay for the bond is when you have to start collecting to pay off those debts. But that's usually related to the construction schedule. To your point, the requisitions. So we gotta pay those requisitions. We take out the bond ahead of time, but I'm not sure about the timeline right now.
It'd be good to know because
Yep.
it's a thing that might come up. One person, if we don't have an answer before then, might
Yeah.
even just bring it up. So
Yeah. Okay. I found that.
Okay. Second point was somebody was asking about dust and noise control. Is that a thing that would normally happen here, even if there's some sort of sensor process to make sure that we don't get crazy with the site and stuff leaving the site?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good. That was it. Those are my two things. Thank you.
Greg, another question for you, very easy one, I think. The first two articles for town meeting, a few folks have asked how long those are. I'm encouraging everybody who wants to come for Green Meadow to show up at the beginning and stay till the end, but I think people are trying to balance their schedules.
I forget, what are the first two?
First one is a zoning. The second one is the HVAC.
Yep.
Well, I don't have a crystal ball about anything in town meeting. So like I usually think that things are
Right.
Not so complicated. You kind of take it on face value and vote yes. But Dick Downey sets the town moderator. He sets the order. So I don't recall why he put it in that particular order.
Yeah, so the first one is a zoning bylaw, neighborhood business overlay districts.
That one in particular, I'm horrible in perspective because I've lived this every day, but I don't think that's that complicated. Just for those of you who don't know, it's in order to allow a dog kennel, like a commercial kennel, to go into the Manor Crossing Market Basket area. So that doesn't sound that complicated, but what do I know? Maybe someone is upset about dog kennels. So, and it's the planning board submitting it. So the planning board chair is going to give a little speech. Again, shouldn't be that long because that's like what we're just asking is just to allow a dog kennel like to be zoned allowance. What's the next?
The second one is the HVAC unit at Fowler.
That doesn't sound that complicated either, frankly.
Right.
And so as long as Natasha Rivera kind of keeps her remarks short and sweet, again, I don't know. I would say 5 minutes for each. Who knows?
Awesome. Thank you.
Maybe Jennifer Gadet has a crystal ball I don't have. Maybe you've looked in the future.
No crystal ball. I just remember how long we talked about people's trees and fences a while ago. So,
Oh yeah. Mayor Crossing could go anywhere. Mayor Crossing can go like 1,000.
So one potential, and I don't know how folks feel about this, but we could have somebody in the audience make a motion to take the articles out of order. I don't know how that would read, but that is an option.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, just personally. I mean, if we were
the moderator gets pretty sensitive about those.
Yeah. I thanked him for putting us at the front to begin with. I thought that was wonderful, but I don't think I would push it any further than that. Just me.
Yeah, if we had a beast of an item at the beginning, maybe, but these don't. I mean, yeah, I've seen stuff. We've all seen stuff go on forever, but these don't seem like huge lifts.
Perhaps something to be said for being number 3 on the list to allow for the latecomers.
So I just want to, so everybody everybody's planning on being there at like 6:30 or thereabouts, and everybody knows, I'm thinking of Phil, obviously, and Chris, you guys know where the Fowler is and that, just thinking logistics, everybody's well aware of the timing. And because I don't think we're going to have another meeting between now and then, right? There's no real need. Anybody?
Now on October 10th, you mean, or now in the
Yeah,
7th?
now on October 10th. Yeah, there's no.
There is no full committee meetings. Or it's not set up at the moment anyway.
Right.
How about between the 10th and the 7th?
definitely then.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, so we can
Yeah.
set that up now.
Well, because we're gonna hear things at the town meeting also that may dictate how we manipulate our advertising towards the 7th to make sure we keep the momentum going. I see Rob Savoy's got his hand up. Rob? Bob, you're on mute, and you hand, there you go. If you're talking, Bob, we can't hear you. Hmm.
Maybe you can text Brian like he's done in the past. Seems to have
Yeah, gonna have to.
all time with our meetings.
Well, while Bob's texting Brian, if he is, or will, is there anything else under new or other business that we or I have forgotten to mention?
Do we want to pencil in that meeting date in October?
We could do that. Yes, we absolutely could do that. Let's take a look.
October 16th is the Monday after town meeting.
That's what I say. If we want to have enough time between A and B and not forget what we talked about at A, the 16th is probably the right one to pick. Is that a holiday or anything? No, right?
No. I can do it. I'll be on the road that day, 5 o'clock. I don't know. Nick, you may own that meeting, Nick.
We're gonna have that meeting out in front of Market Basket. That's the last time I said something and I had to do it. So yeah, I'm free that day. That's fine for me.
Okay, good, because I may not, I will be on the road. I don't know if I'll be in a hotel on time for 5 o'clock. I can join via phone, but I don't want to.
We don't want to take you away from the pool time that you might have there, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll leave that. Yeah, I'm not.
Jerry, I'll just give you the update on Bob's message. He just said he'll be happy to work with WAVM to discuss and show potential issues. So that's just in line with the earlier conversation. So that's good.
Great, thank
Perfect.
you. Yeah, please thank
Perfect.
him. And did he say he'd be okay with coming to the town meeting, Brian, just in case?
Yep, he's planning on it. We talked
Thank
already.
you. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Because that'll mean a lot. I mean, we can say things, and Brian, you can say things. No offense, but you know, he's the facilities guy, and some of what he might, if he has to answer something, he has some credibility that the rest of us don't have, and that could
Absolutely.
be, and just his presence, I think
Agreed.
will help. It will help. Good, thank you. Any other issues? Not seeing anybody.
I just want to give a shout out to Mary and others who have all been involved in the publicity over the last few weeks, because obviously, despite all the amazing work that goes into the technical design, selling it to the town is huge. So just thank you very much for all of you who've been part of that.
You're on call on Sunday. You know that, right, Mike? You're joining me at the coffee. And that's going to be a good one, actually. It'll be a good representation.
No,
Good.
appreciate
it. And thank you, Mike. Thanks for saying that. For those who do go the extra mile and have been out there, kind of advertising this and pushing it. You're right. That's as important as a technical backup. It really is. Message has to be delivered. Excellent. Thanks for bringing that up. Greatly appreciated. I would certainly, I don't see any other hands, not that I can see everybody, but I see some of them.
Actually, just a quick question, Mary, you're all set with staff for
So,
Manifest?
yeah, I'll put out a reminder, but everybody had figured out a block. So does anybody have a tent? A canopy tent? Just, it's gonna maybe rain, but more importantly, just to separate us, if anybody's got one of those pop-up tents.
I can provide one.
That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, just the canopy. Great. Thank you. So maybe I can run, because we have to be there at 8:30 to set up, Mike. So maybe I can run by your house at some point this week.
Yep, no
Yeah.
problem.
I
Thank you.
suggest a couple of like soda bottles full of sand or something too, if it's gonna
I've
be
got
windy.
I've got weights from the food pantry. So yeah, that we use for, but
Never
the
mind.
tent that we have is way too big, but I can take the weights. So I'll do that.
I was
I have
thinking
no
way
idea.
more bush league. You're way better than than I was coming up with.
I have no idea why you think it might rain, Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, let me look out the window. Oh, yeah, now I know. Okay, I would entertain a motion. I think you all know what motion that might be. Okay, folks.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Perfect.
second it.
Second, good. Any further discussion on adjournment? None? Let me do by a roll call. Justin, not here. Chris De Silva,
Yes.
Greg. Did Greg leave?
He left.
May have, okay. Mary,
Yes.
Hillary, Brian,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rob's not here. Jennifer,
Yes.
Wayne is, I haven't seen him. Wayne's here. Wayne, you agree to adjourn? I'm gonna assume he does. I agree. All right, Mark Anderson.
Yes.
Anthony's not here. Matthew, Nick,
Yes.
Ken is not here. Josh,
Yes.
perfect, perfect. That's it. Those are all the voting members. No other comments? I have to say, very disappointing. Beautiful day out there today. Go out and enjoy the rain. Splash in the puddles.
Thanks.